This man is Aussie rock icon, legend, for many reasons, but for me personally, if I may be a little indulgent, it's because he is the voice behind what I think is the best Aussie rock song ever written, recorded and played, and that is Eagle Rock.
Oh, thank you.
And I say that for two reasons. One, seriously, because I really believe that. Secondly, in later years, being a big Manly Seagull supporter, and it being a theme song,
But
it
they
just puts on a whole new meaning.
They adopted it. And in fact, it got to. I mean, I kind of like the fact that they use it, and so do the West Coast Eagles. You know, if they kick a goal, the fans or the mascot goes crazy, and the fans all sing the song. But it got to a point at one stage where they sort of thought they owned it. You know, it wasn't their official song because they got another song, but the fans and everybody kind of adopted it for the footy, and you have to keep reminding them, you know, oh well, actually I wrote that song, you know, and etc. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
Of course, Ross Wilson, welcome to the DC Radio Show.
Thank you very much.
In fact, at Brookvale Oval, Manly's home ground, several weeks ago, they didn't play it for some reason when the team ran out, and there was absolute mayhem.
Really?
Absolutely.
So people
you
didn't
can't
like
bill
that
them for that use.
No.
No, absolutely not, including me. It's like, it's the G
Yeah,
up. It's
yeah.
like, come on, let's go, sort of.
Well, that's what happened with, you know, my friend Darren Cutrupi, who's on this tour. He has had a tradition now where he sings the horses at the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah.
And one year they forgot to book him, and he was booked already, and they got someone else to get up and sing something, and everyone was going, Darryl! Darryl! So they got him back again the next year.
And is that person who did it in place of him ever sung again? Or?
Oh yeah, no, someone quite well known. I'm not going to mention his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tour, you and I say your mates, Gerald Braithwaite, James Ray, and Joe Camilleri. What possessed you to get together and go on the road around the country?
Well, I've got to say, it wasn't our idea. It was Apia, which is an insurance company, and the tour is called the Apia Time of My Life tour. They said they wanted to sort of sponsor something to do with music because of their, you know, the people that they sell insurance to. They realised that they really like music and stuff. So they'd already sponsored tennis and da-da-da-da. And they said, we want to get into that. So they basically put the idea together and stumped up the bread to make it all happen. So we went, fine, sounds good. We all know each other. It's a great idea. And, you know, we'd all worked together on and off over the years, and sometimes in the public and sometimes for like corporate events especially, you know. So this was only just another step to take it to this level and have all four of us together on stage, and it was a really good idea.
Now here in Canberra, elsewhere, it's been selling out.
It has. Where
you're not surprised, surely.
Well, you never know. You know, you just don't. That's why people in performing arts are superstitious.
Yep.
You know, you don't tempt fate. So you never go, oh gee, I think it's going to sell out, because then it'll for sure something bad will happen.
Yep.
I mean, even I'm not, you know, superstitious in other regards, but I've learnt that's like pride comes before a fall. And but it's been terrific here. We are halfway mark, and as you said, we're in Canberra, and it's another sellout show. So 8 out of 8 aren't bad. You know, I don't think I've ever done that before. 8 out of 8 completely sold out shows.
Wow. So we're here in your dressing room.
Yeah.
Is there, I suppose, a superstition or something you do before every performance?
I have a little bit of a warm up. I mean, there's all that stuff with theatrical people where you're not allowed to whistle and stuff, so you go along with it, you know. But it's pretty light-hearted backstage.
Yeah. Well, it seems to. I've had a few threats of violence since I've been here as well, but but I returned by offering to give them something to be violent with me. So I think they took that in the intention that it wasn't meant to.
No, it's a nice place, you know, and the backstage is always a pretty good vibe. There's some, you know, a few nibbles lying around and what have you.
Now you've continued to make music and, you know, be on the road on and off over the years since you started all those years ago. Something Canberrans mightn't know is you were a public servant, like a lot of us once.
Yeah, well I was. I came out of school and I'd finished you know, year 12, and then I was going through the summer holidays, and I got to around January and my mother said, well, you know, you don't go to school anymore. You better go get a job. And I kind of went, oh, you know. So the easiest thing to do was sit for the public service exam they had at that time.
Mm.
And I said, oh, what have you got? And they went, oh, there's a PMG. And I had a friend who was in the PMG and hated it. That's the, you know, phone and postal thing. And then there was some other thing, and then Department of Supply. And I said, well, that sounds like it's kind of harmless. So I went and worked with the Department of Supply, which is now sort of part of the Department of Defence. It's the where you know you might want 100,000 ration kits or something, and or whatever, and so you have. I was a tender clerk. I had to ask for tenders and publish it, and then the tenders would come in, and I'd look at it and make a report out, and then they'd give it to a board and to get a stamp, and that's what I did. But it was very helpful in my career because here I was 18 years old, and I was playing in bands by that time. I was still playing around Melbourne and evolving and starting to write songs. And I had my own phone, you know, so I could ring up my agent, go, got any gigs this week, you know, call the guys in the band, whatever. It was a really good job to have in that regard. And I didn't mind the job at all. But after about 2 years, the band I was in, the Party Machine, were getting sufficient work that I decided to do, which I recommend to any kind of rock and roller or musician or artist of any kind. That old thing about starving in the garret is very true. There comes to a point where you've got to leap off the edge. You know, there might be a little bit of a net there, but you got to go, I'm not gonna, this is what I'm going to do. I think I'm ready. Bang. If you try to do both things, it doesn't work out that well.
Trying to coordinate, it's just...
Yeah, so for a while, you know, I starved a bit and people stole things from me and lost my guitar and all that kind of stuff. But then it started to coming together simply because I kept working with good people, trying to improve what I did, writing better songs, etc. And then, you know, it was about, I don't know, after I left that job, it was about 2 years of mucking around and having adventures before Daddy Cool put that together, and it took off pretty well straight away. Because by that time I knew kind of what I wanted to do. You know?
The music industry is so much different now than what it was back then.
Yeah.
Is it for the better?
Well, yes and no. I mean, all you're doing is dealing with new ways of doing things, and that's always happened. You know, things have always evolved. I mean, rock and roll came about because they invented electric guitars.
Yep.
You know, simple as that. And then dance music and that happened because they came along with drum machines and synthesizers, you know, and that changed everything as well. Yep. So you're always adapting to what's going on. I don't actually think it's that different. I think it's bigger, but if you're talented, there's no competition. Yep. You'll be noticed straight away. Yep. And you will, as long as you've got the right personality for it and you want to do it, you'll go zit, bang like that. Yep. There's a lot of good singers around. I mean, the singers are a lot better than me, but that's not necessarily what it takes. Yep. You know, it's about, can you get on a stage and command people's attention if you're a performer? Yep. Can you translate what you do into good music on recordings? Because it's easy to make a record. Anyone can do that. Yeah. You know, they do it. They do it at home in their bedrooms now because they've got Pro Tools and all the rest of it. Yeah. But making it sort of something that will connect with people, that's different, you know. That's why there's like an avalanche of music now. Yeah. But it's, you know, there's only ever this much good stuff, you know, and the rest is all kind of blah, big blancmange.
Where would you say your music is at the moment? You know, you've obviously recorded and fronted massive hits. You've written a lot of songs, recorded from people from the Wiggles to Joe Cocker, who's picked up one of your songs.
Well, that's the thing. Times. I mean, I put out an album 2 years ago, or nearly 3 years ago, that I recorded. I went over and saw my friend Mark Moffat in the States, and he produced, he lives in Nashville now, so we produced an album. I've worked with really good guys that he put together for me. And I recorded an album of all original songs and put it out, you know, and yeah, it got a couple of good reviews, but it basically just cruised along, you know, my fans bought it and and all the rest of it. But the good thing about it was I did a video of the title track, I Come in Peace, and somehow Joe Cocker's management got a hold of that, and they were looking for songs for his next album. So he put his version of I Come in Peace on his album. And that's kind of what you got to do. You've got to be proactive. I mean, I'm an independent artist. I put out my own stuff, so you do all that stuff. And that's a single at the moment for him, and it's being played on BBC Two. The album's gone gold in Germany and a bunch of places. So, I'm still creating. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Still capable of creating stuff. Whether I could ever have another hit record or something, that's probably ain't going to happen. But then you look at my friend Russell Morris, who's just had a top 10 album, and you go, it's possible, So that's all good. I think it's just a matter of doing what you feel like you should be doing, and there's a lot of that going on in this show. You see Joe Camilleri on stage, and he's just sort of being Joe Camilleri, blowing his horn and just having a great time and doing a few things people mightn't expect, and I think we're all trying to do that. It's a great band here. And I took a vow when I started doing solo things that I only ever work with the best musicians I could find at any given time, because working with guys that, are not that good, it's so painful. Yeah. But we've got a terrific band backing us here tonight, and so it's a great feeling to get on stage and just sort of give what you've got. And we've got a time limit on this because we only get to do about half an hour each. So you go, gee, how can I cram all that stuff into half an hour? So I've done a slightly different approach to the other guys, where I do a couple of very short medleys so I can, squash things up a bit and get people can get to hear all of the things I've done, because I've been around for a long time now. It was Daddy Cool, and then something completely different, Mondo Rock. And then solo things is different again. So there's a lot of bases to touch, and I'm just trying to, touch some of those. And then at the end of the night, we all come back and we do stuff together. So it's a great night. People just lap up the fact that when we're all on the stage together, they go, man, says, look at those four guys. They tell you after the show, and you go out and sign stuff, and it's like incredible. So to have that kind of feedback's really good. But you see, this show is very much, doing the things that people are familiar with. And what it does to me is I go, well, it makes me champ at the bit. I know, I've got to get in the studio and do some of these new songs I've written, and I think that everybody else that's involved feels that way too. So we like to celebrate what we've done, but we're still moving forward,
Ross Wilson, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to hearing
time
you
of
tonight.
my life. Thank you.